When it comes to fat loss, everybody hates the idea of being hungry. And I personally believe that hunger is a signal that proves that actually you are losing body fat. And there was a video I watched with a guy called Ian Valliere, who is, I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce his last name, but he's Chris Bumstead's best friend. And he did a podcast with Fouad, who's another famous bodybuilder who runs a very popular podcast. And Fouad said, how do you deal with hunger in prep? And he said, well, if I'm not hungry, then things aren't working. And when you can reframe your mindset in a fat loss phase to go, hey, you know what? I am hungry, but I should be hungry because I'm giving my body less than what it needs to maintain its current body weight. And your body will always try and find a state of maintenance. It will always try and get you back to a baseline to maintain where you are currently. That's built into us through years, thousands of years, millions of years of evolution. Of your body doesn't enjoy any kind of stress that causes it to change. So when you're in a fat loss phase and you feel hunger, that is your body signaling saying, hey, if you do not give me more, I'm going to have to change in response to this stress. And I don't like change, but that's where you need to be mentally strong in your head and go, you know what? I know you don't want to change, but I want you to change for my desired outcome and goal. And when you do have that mental shift, all of a sudden dieting becomes a hell of a lot easier. Now, that's not to say that hunger isn't hard to deal with. It definitely is. Especially when leptin and ghrelin, your hunger and satiety hormones, are completely out of whack. And there's this phrase inside of bodybuilding that you're never going to win a battle with leptin and ghrelin. And it's true. So it's about managing it to a degree. Sure, you should feel hungry in prep. And I don't feel like you should ever be at a point where you want to lick windows because you're that hungry. But to a degree, you have to sit with the feeling of being uncomfortable and try and reframe your mindset into seeing that as a positive thing because your body is changing. And when it gets to a point where you physically cannot sustain it any longer, that's when, okay, cool, maybe we need a maintenance couple of days where we just bring our calories to maintenance, reset our leptin and ghrelin. And then when you start to feel that hunger back off a little bit, start pushing back down again in terms of calories. But my one bit of advice, and for this video anyway, in conclusion, is try, if you're in a dieting phase, try and reframe that hunger as less of a negative thing and more of a positive thing. And all of a sudden things start to get a hell of a lot easier. And moving on from that, when you are in a fat loss phase, and if you do struggle with hunger, if that's something that you've always battled, my best bit of advice is, again, that reframing of what hunger actually means really helps. But equally, lengthen out your time horizon to be able to get to a goal. And what I mean by that is, let's take the most extreme case of a bodybuilder. If you have 12 to 14 weeks for a show, you should give yourself longer anyway, but we're going to get to that. Let's say you've got 12 to 14 weeks, okay, until your show. You want to start dieting rather than 12 to 14 weeks out. You probably want to start dieting at 20 weeks out. Now, what that allows you to do is, okay, cool. If you know you only need 12 to 14 weeks to achieve the body composition that you need, what you're doing is you're allowing yourself weeks where you can take a break from dieting. So if you know that 12 weeks is going to cause you a hell of a lot of stress, you're going to feel hungry to a point of that unsustainable hunger, but now your time frame is so short, you don't have any opportunity to fuck up. If you gave yourself 20 weeks, let's say you dieted for 3 weeks and now you're at that point, you can allow yourself a week at maintenance to back that hunger off a little bit and then continue to move forwards. And effectively what you're doing is giving yourself 6 to 8 weeks to play with. And as an outcome of that, your physique will look way better at the end of a fat loss phase because you're going to be less stressed through the process as well. And that's something that people do not take into consideration. I think the idea of talking to someone and saying, hey, it's going to take you 20 weeks to get to a goal, they'd rather do it in 12 because we live in a society of delayed gratification is like a thing of the past now. The idea of waiting for something a little bit longer is absolutely blasphemy. Patience is non-existent. But if you can get your head around going, hey, okay, I'm cool with being patient. I'm cool with waiting the additional 6 to 8 weeks, because then that gives me 6 to 8 weeks where I can have a little bit more food. I can enjoy my training. I don't have to feel like death or on death's door. Then because you've allowed those weeks, stress is lower, and stress will hinder fat loss to a degree. So if you can lengthen that time horizon out in a fat loss phase, if you know it would take you 12 weeks of intense work, and you give yourself 20 to be able to lower stress down and give you those additional weeks where you can back off a little bit, the outcome will always be a bit better. So that's my 2 cents on dieting and how to deal with hunger.